Okay, let's try this one with the headphones, which I think make me look like a sort of demented Princess Leia, but whatever. I'm actually reshooting a video that I did last week. The sound was so bad on it that I figured I needed to try again. So I wanted to say that there have been some suggestions for names for the videocasts, and I will throw them out there. These are from an account who has not said it's okay to identify him, so I'm not going to. The candidates are Zalanthan Tales, and you spelled Zalanthan wrong there, dear. Crackageddon, From the Fields to the Computer, the Gortok, the Sorcerer and the Spice, Tectomies Would Be Proud, the Union of High Lords, DA, During Armageddon, Armageddon Behind the Scenes, and Armageddon, Before You Were Addicted. So if one of those is a particular favorite, let me know. Give me an email. If you've got an idea for another title that you think would be just as good or even better, shoot it to me in email. That's sanvean@armageddon.org. So if I can manage to keep this on, I wanted to talk about a plot called The Lord of Ash. This was a plot that Hallister ran before I came on staff. My character, Alcyone, was involved in it. And it was a kind of cool plot line, and it affected the geography of Armageddon slightly. You may have seen one of the results of that. And I will reveal that in the course of telling you this plot line. So what happened was that there was this guy in Alanak, and he would come in and insult people and end up getting cut down in the street, usually by a Templar, and then a green mist would surround his body and it would vanish. And he kept coming back, so he got killed over and over again, and people were starting to worry. Obviously, when you've got some sort of undead creature running around the city, it is a cause for concern. So my character ended up going to Tuluk. If you remember, if you're one of the people who remember Tuluk's crater and all the stuff that was down there, she in fact went and talked to Gajarat the Sage, who was a frequent plot device at that point. You could always go to Gajarat and hopefully get a clue or two about what was going on. I don't know who animated him, but he was invariably just this dirty, lascivious old man, so it's kind of funny. What we found out, I and the other people involved in the plot, and I'm sorry to say I don't remember exactly who they were, what we found out was that this guy, Vaysar, had stored his soul in a bottle, and that in order to kill him we would have to smash the bottle. It turned out that the bottle was in a cave somewhere near the Red Storm area. I went down with a number of the Jakar. There was Zarak, who was a player character who had started, one of the people who'd started Komar was with us. His player had sort of dug him out of cold storage and started playing just for that occasion. And he was very impressive because he had a steel spear, and it was the first time I'd witnessed the amazing power of a steel weapon and the unspeakable damage it could do. At any rate, we ended up, details are blurry. I think there were waves of creatures. We fought them. We ended up smashing the bottle. I remember, I think that the person who ended up smashing it was a dwarf whose name I should remember but don't. At any rate, before Vaysar died, he revealed to us that he was only a forerunner, an announcement of terrible evil to come. And he made a prophecy that my character, something bad would happen to her at a certain phase of the white moon. And then everybody kind of went around their business because we weren't sure what to do next. And my character periodically would have intimations of the plot line. Something would happen to remind her that this was sort of hovering over her. And I think one of the coolest moments that I ever had on Armageddon was when I was sitting in Flint's Tavern up in Tuluk, and I emoted something about drawing patterns with the beer rings on the table in front of me, and someone echoed to me, "You look down and see that all you have drawn over and over is the crescent moon." And it was, in fact, a supremely chilling moment, a really interesting, evocative moment, and I've always remembered just how much impact that had for such a small thing. The plot line, a guy named Arianus appeared and announced that he was an ancient champion and that the Lord of Ash was this ancient sorcerer who came every few thousand years. And there was a great deal of there were various possessed creatures that would come and attack people. And at one point my character got possessed and taken over by the Lord of Ash, and defeated. And it kind of ground on for a while, but finally we ended up in the last battle, which occurred on the Salt Flats. We had to go down there, and we actually fought the Lord of Ash, or by that time, I believe Arianus had died in a moment that was calculated to sap all our morale. But we managed to carry the day. A lot of the Jakar were there. If people remember Servitor, the white-haired elf. If people remember Sigmund, I don't remember his Estes, but he was a great half-giant. Aldane, the sandblasted mule, who was kind of the leader of the Jakar, and was often a companion. Some of the gypsies were there. Ferric, who was the leader of the gypsies, and I believe Fennekier, and some other folks. And in fact, once we had defeated the Lord of Ash, the Tanmuark came up with a tradition. What had happened was the Lord of Ash got turned to stone, and if you've ever been on the Salt Flats and seen the immense statue there, that is in fact the petrified Lord of Ash. And the gypsies started a custom where they would go down every year, get horribly drunk, and pee on the statue in order to celebrate their victory in a very Tanmuark way. I think Ferric was the person who came up with that tradition. It was pretty cute. It was a very cool plot line, and in some ways, though, it was bad because it set the bar very high, and there came a point, I think, where people felt with plot lines that the more demons, the better. If you had a lot of demons, it was, you know, the more demons, the better the plot was, and this was just not true. And in fact, at one point, I took one of the most notorious offenders as far as flinging demons at the players and said, you can only have demons that are 6 inches tall from now on, which cut down immensely on the number of demons in the game for a while. And I don't believe that there were, in fact, any 6-inch tall demons running around. I don't think he could figure out a way to make them scary. So for a while we were demon-free. And I think that's one of the things that people try to think about when they're designing plots now, is balancing magic and mundane things. I think there's a couple things that are important about plots, and one is that there's a lot of atmosphere. Another is that players need to have a way to affect the outcome. Any plot needs to be built in such a way that what the players do matters. And we've had recently, with the end of the world coming, a lot more magical plots, and we were talking about this the other day and trying to kind of throttle back on those. There can only be so many. So that is my video cast for today, and I will say goodbye. Thank you, and keep playing.